Ever since the first Earth Day in 1970, April has steadily transformed into Earth Month, a time to reflect, recharge, and recommit to protecting our planet. Welcome to I Left My Podcast in San Francisco, brought to you by SFGovTV. It's a show where we take you behind the scenes with the people shaping our city, leaders and representatives across every department. We're coming to you from the basement of City Hall, and today we're joined by Tyrone Jue, the director of the Department of Environment, where we talk about his early childhood memories, growing up in Chinatown, the numerous programs his department offers to small businesses to save money and to be more sustainable, and how we can do the little things in our life to help the environment. I'm your host, Franco Finn. Let's get to the heart of what makes San Francisco. Well, Tyrone, welcome to I Left My Podcast in San Francisco. You're a San Franciscan, just like me. Yeah, tell us a little bit about your roots and your upbringing. Born and raised in San Francisco?
Yep, born and raised in San Francisco. Born and raised in San Francisco, Chinatown. And so lived in a small walk-up apartment with my grandma and extended family. So it was a close, cramped quarters with a lot of people in there, but it made family gatherings all the more easy.
And this is home, and you get to work for the city now. But we'll dive into, obviously, your job, as a director for environment here in San Francisco. But your Chinatown roots, what was that like growing up? Like, as a kid, what did you think of your city that you grew up in, especially Chinatown? What was your thoughts?
I mean, when you're a kid, you just enjoy being a kid. But as I reflect back now, the amount of connection I had to all these city programs and services, as I look back now, I always tell different directors of departments, I used to go to the after-school program that Rec Park had over at Gordon J. Lau Elementary School. Or, I used to play at that playground. I used to play basketball over here. I used to take swim lessons over here. And I used to ride Muni back and forth going between all the neighborhoods. That's how you got around. And it's a very small community. And so you just know all the store owners. My grandma knew everyone up and down the block. I would go in and store owners would know me, actually. And it was just a lot of fun. It was just a small, dense, urban city neighborhood that didn't feel like a city. It didn't feel like a city. It felt like its own little city.
And I feel the same way growing up in San Francisco. I grew up in Mission Excelsior, and then I moved to the Sunset. But, I took the bus I was talking to, our producers about this, that we were taking the bus when we were like second, third, fourth grade, unsupervised, right?
That was definitely it. I mean, we didn't have a car back then either. So the bus was our lifeline and way to get around the city.
What did you take? What was your bus?
Okay, so my two favorite buses, of course, in Chinatown, it's the one California that goes east-west.
Yep.
And then the 30 Stockton for me was, of course.
30 Stockton, of course.
That goes the north-south.
But we were taking the bus at a young age.
Yeah.
With no supervision. Absolutely. But I felt safe. You know what I mean? That was the only way to go around, and you with your friends, this and that. But it was just the normal way of life.
I mean, the bus system we have here is world class. And we sometimes take that for granted.
I agree.
And as a kid, just to be able to explore parts of the city and get access to the city. I would never have been able to even make it out to the Richmond district without the One California being able to get out there, or visit the Academy of Sciences, right? Without the bus line being able to take me there, because I'm not walking 5 or 6 miles to get over there.
Yeah.
And we take that for granted.
I think we have one of the best around the country. We've traveled, I'm sure you've traveled quite a bit. I'm like, you know what? We've got it down, Pat. Well, talk about Chinatown specifically. And my gosh, the food is amazing. I mean, you go to this block, that block. What's your favorite restaurant, dim sum place, or anything like that? Come on, share with us. You know Chinatown better than anyone. What would you recommend to someone saying, I'm coming to San Francisco, I'm coming to Chinatown. What's the best dim sum? What's the best food?
Okay, so it depends on the type of food you want.
True, there's a lot.
So for dim sum, I would say going to any of those shops where you can just purchase the dim sum from the counter.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of great places on Stockton Street.
Yep.
There's a Stockton Bakery. You can get your buns, you can get your dim sum. All of them are fantastic in Chinatown. For more traditional sit down, I tend to actually go to other parts of the city for that. So I might go to the Richmond or the Sunset.
Or the Sunset, either or.
There. If you want wonton mean, right? Or wonton noodles, Han's wonton is obviously top notch also, and you got to go over there to get your fixings. And if you want barbecue items, there's tons of places
Yeah.
over there you can go. There's
So much.
there.
That's why we're so lucky. We're so lucky to have just the food at our fingertips
we
here.
have a food
You
paradise.
could walk here, walk there, take the bus here, there.
Yeah.
You could have different flavors. Not only that, Asian food, Mexican food,
Yep.
Italian food. I mean, you got it all.
Yep.
That's the great city.
And if you need your fortune cookies, you can always go to the Golden Gate fortune cookies.
Oh, yes.
And grab your fortune cookies while there, which are great
Which
gifts,
is
by the
great.
way.
I always like to start with food because it always breaks the ice, and we can always talk about food. And
Talk about food all
day long,
day.
right? You could literally visit a restaurant in San Francisco 365 days a year, and you'll still have something different and experience every single day, right?
Yeah, and a lot of these restaurants are still there. They may have changed hands or
Right.
so. Like I remember the old corner restaurant just down the block from where I grew up. It used to be called Uncle's. And it was like
Okay.
this kind of like old school diner, and you'd see like, older, elderly Chinese people in there. And that's where we were able to get our apple pie, our orange cream pies.
Yeah.
And we only got that on a very special occasion.
Special occasions.
But when you
yeah.
had that special occasion, you'd go down to Uncle's and say like, can I get an apple pie? And like, it's just part of the culture.
Part of the culture. Oh, it's awesome. I know. And as a San Francisco, I could relate. When you're talking about these stories, I could see that all my friends. These are the discussions we have all the time. We look back. All right, I got to switch gears here
Okay.
from food
Yes.
to hair.
Oh.
I'm putting you on the spot. Okay,
course.
first off, you're color coordinating. You didn't do this for this program, did you?
I absolutely
The
did. it for
hair and the
program.
shirt.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I do have a bunch of purple shirts. I was like, when I really want to go matching, I might wear the purple with the purple. It kind of works. I have a couple purple shirts.
But it's per personality. That's awesome. Do you always change your hair color?
I didn't start dyeing it until the pandemic.
Okay.
So, everyone could not get a haircut during that time. And I was working in the COVID emergency command, and my hair was so shaggy. Like my hair
Shaggy and long, right?
shaggy and long.
Yes.
So it was about at least 15, 16 years. My hair was short as yours, even shorter. And it just started growing out. And my wife at the time was like, what is there to do? It's just, she started like experimenting with colors. And I was like, she said, do you want to try that? I'm like, nah, that won't work in government. And she's like, well,
No.
we're in a pandemic right now. Like
You
this
can
is
do
probably
whatever
this is probably the best time when no one cares about it.
Exactly.
So I was
Try it out.
I'll try it out. And I started with purple because purple was just always a color that I related
love
to.
the color purple.
And it has stuck since then.
So wait, have you changed your color? Or is it your purple? Is like in your low
I've gone purple during the pandemic. I was a little bit more bold during the pandemic. So I tried like
red?
teal, red. Red comes back every once in a while. But purple is like my color. Like
I love that color, and I joke around too because with my wife, I met my wife when she had purple and black hair. She's
Oh.
very edgy. She has a little more personality.
you have good taste.
Like yes, and she had that all, and I'm like, I don't know if I should date someone who's got that. And I said, no, I kind of like that. I like because I'm very traditional. My colors,
Yeah.
my personality is what goes out.
Yeah.
But she had the nice purple hair, and I was like, you know what? I like it actually.
It's like an
It's just
expression. It's an expression of like
Yeah.
your internal self. And like, I think prior to actually doing this, it felt very self-conscious. Like, oh, this is not professional. This is not whatever. But I think all those norms changed a little during the
I did
pandemic.
change.
Of, boy, life is short.
Life is short. You could be who you are. You still do
Yeah.
your job, do your things,
Yeah.
but you could still be you
in a place like San Francisco.
in a
right?
place like San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yeah, and I definitely do get looks when I go to like Scotland and other places
Yeah.
where they're like,
But
maybe not
individuality is
cool."
important. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I just had to bring that up because everyone's unique in their own way. All right, let's dive into your
Okay.
service. How did you first even get into your role here? Was this even in the horizon when you were a kid? Were you thinking of like, oh, okay, I want to work in something environmental related, this and that? Like, just briefly talk about like how did that trajectory happen? Like, through school, through
Yeah.
college, and how you ended up here.
So I am a proud San Francisco public school student.
Yep.
Gordon J. Lau was called Commodore Stockton back then. Roosevelt Middle School, George Washington High School. Went up to Davis, and I got a degree in cell biology and in psychology.
Okay.
And coming out of college, I'm like every person coming out of college, you're not quite sure what you want to do.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to go in the science route and go into research. My dad's a researcher.
Okay.
And when I started interning my third year in college, I realized not for me. I just couldn't express myself in the way I wanted to express myself.
Yeah.
Staring at petri dishes of cells
All day
in
long.
quads all day.
Yeah.
I was just
I
like,
mean,
it wasn't me, right?
yeah.
And I did a little bit of soul searching right after I graduated to figure out like, well, what is it that I want to do?
Yeah.
And I started connecting dots for me in my own path. So early on in high school, I helped start a math and English tutorial program in Chinatown for youth. And every Saturday, would just get volunteers together, and it would just be open doors at a local church over there. And any kid could come in, and we would just help them out with their math and English homework. And that to me connected, like, I really love teaching and educating. And then I was like, I'm going to become a public school teacher. So right after I graduated college, I was like, I'm going to go sign up for becoming an emergency credentialed public school teacher. I'm going to go back to get my teaching credential. I finally figured out what I want to do. And then I got a call from a friend who said, hey, I know you're in between jobs right now. You're looking. Would you be interested in working for then Mayor Willie Brown? We're looking for someone to do like community work as this liaison for the Richmond and Sunset District. You grew up there, and we need to do some work in a Chinese community. It seems like a perfect opportunity. You'd be great for it. And I actually said no. I was like, nope, not interested, because I finally figured out what I want to do. I want to go into teaching. I want to be a middle school science teacher.
Wow.
And fortunately, my friend was like one of the most persistent people you would know. And he's like, no, I really think you should just like sit down with folks on the inside, just like learn a little bit about it.
Wow.
And, my then kind of partner was like, just sit down. Like, you haven't figured everything out.
Just give it a try.
Just give it a try.
And that opened up your door.
And that opened the door into public service. And here I am now 24 years after walking through
5 administrations.
5, is that, oh gosh.
Right?
It does make you feel old.
Yeah, Willie, Gavin, Lee, Bree, and now Lori.
Yeah.
5 administrations.
Yeah.
You're so young. Come on. How did you do that?
Sometimes it doesn't feel this way. I think I was talking to Phil Ginsburg as he was on his way out. He's like, it's like, Tyrone, I think you're one of the last remaining folks from this era.
From the era. When you think about it, going through those regimes, that's quite a lot of history and perspective.
And it gives me an appreciation, because I'm always just a historian about like the journey of this city, the journey of the people of this city. And it's so helpful even as I'm thinking through my current role of like, what does the future of this city look like, and how does that tie and connect to what this journey has been?
And we'll dive on that, because with your job, you want to look at the future of the city and how we're becoming more sustainable, reducing emissions, all that good stuff. But I want to first celebrate 30 years of climate leadership. San Francisco, since 1995, has been really making this conscious effort to do this. And so chime in on that. I mean, we're like the leaders, I would say, in the country, right? And how proud can we be about that?
San Franciscans should be extremely proud of what our city has accomplished on a climate environmental standpoint. What we do here in our city ripples far outside our small boundaries here. And I think that's the case for a lot of different things, but especially on environmental issues. And I think we paved the way in so many various areas. You look at our 3-bin system of composting and recycling, like that started here.
It started here, right?
Right
here. Oh my gosh,
that's
amazing.
And that journey, and like just talking about that history, that was just a glimmer in people's eyes 30 years ago. And now it's a part of our daily lives. Like, we don't even think about it as this extra thing. It's like when you go outside of this city and you don't see this system, or you don't have a green bin, and you have your banana peel, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do with it?
I know,
you start like sweating a little bit. You're like, oh shoot, what am I going to do? I don't want to do the wrong thing. And that's how climate action should ultimately
That's good.
be.
Like, you're conscious about it. Before I make this decision, where should it go?
Yeah.
Because we've traveled around. Yeah. And I tell you, I'm like, where do I put? Oh, we don't. I'm like, you don't? Yeah. Isn't that like the first thing you think about? You're like, we don't reduce, reuse, recycle. You don't do any of this stuff. Yeah. Some countries don't. Some cities don't.
A lot of places don't. And a lot of places,
unbelievable.
They still burn their trash, which obviously causes pollution and emissions. And,
oh my goodness.
To know here that everything you're putting in that green bin, for example, is headed up to Napa to fertilize like wine and other crops that we get to enjoy. That's the cycle you kind of want to promote. And that's going back to the formation of the Environment Department. 30 years ago, this was the last major charter reform in the city. And voters in San Francisco chose at that moment to establish this new department.
The voters, it was the people.
It was the people
that said, we need to do this. Yeah, that's amazing.
They did all of these changes with like various departments and reorganizing different functions. And what the voters of people, when they were developing the charter reform package, they realized like we have this fragmented system
Yeah.
of how we think about sustainability and climate. We need to do a better job of coordinating this as a city in order to be the climate leader that we know we can be. And the department got formed there. And ever since then, I think we've been helping to trailblaze the way for not only San Francisco, but the nation, and in some cases, the world.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's something to be proud of, especially coming, if you're from San Francisco and you know what San Francisco's doing to move things forward, it's right here, and you get to be a part of that. Let's talk about the removal of the power plants too. That's another thing that San Francisco did, right?
Yeah.
To help with the environment. Talk about a little bit of that process, and how important is that reducing or shutting down those power plants that we had.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the benefits of being here so long. San Francisco used to have 2 fossil fuel burning power plants located in San Francisco. So we had one, the Hunters Point power plant, and we had the Potrero power plant. And both of those ran off of kind of combustion engines that were running off of natural gas and polluting the surrounding community. The decision was made to shut down Hunters Point and Potrero largely because the community stood up at that time. And the communities around there were sick of having pollution on the backs of their children, their lungs, which, as you look at every single data point, the pollution is higher on those areas. The asthma rates are higher in the Bayview and in the surrounding areas because there's more emission sources. So directly tied to those energy sites, we were putting these health impacts and externalizing these costs on the people growing up there, and mostly people of color. And the community stood up and said, this is not right. This is an environmental justice issue. The environmental justice issue was starting to have life breathe into it. We cannot just like put this pollution on the back of communities of color any longer. And they stood up and helped to get those plants get shut down. And there was a lot of controversy. Like if you look at the public record of that time, the SFPUC, the board, they were all supportive actually of keeping the Potrero power plant open, mainly because there's always been this tension, as we see, between Pacific Gas and Electric and our San Francisco Public Utilities Commission as the municipal electricity provider. And right now they saw this as an opportunity to kind of like get a foothold into developing a public power system, which has always been the dream for San Francisco, to be independent, to make our own decisions, to invest in these assets for the long term. And that was the push at that time by a lot of the leadership in San Francisco. And it took community persistence. And at one point, this department, I wasn't leading the department at the time, but the department leaders like stood with community who also like saying, this is not right. We have to move in a different direction. There is a better way to accomplish these goals. And the community ultimately prevailed. The Mayor Newsom at the time backed the plan to shut the plant down and force the city to say, we have to rethink how we're going to get our electricity, and it cannot be on the backs of these communities. And, you can look at what has transpired since then. We had progressive solar policies in terms of like requiring them on roofs. We have our amazing Clean Power SF program run by our Public Utilities Commission that started up, which is a community choice aggregation program. And we've achieved a renewable electricity, 100% renewable electricity, 2 years ahead of schedule back in 2023. And you look at the start of that, that didn't seem possible, right? That was like over 20 years ago. That felt like we need these assets here. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to do it. And it always feels hard at first until you make the tough decision and then you put in the work to try to like overcome all the obstacles and barriers. And San Francisco is a success story, right?
That's a success story. And I think we should celebrate that. There's a lot. That's why I want to do these interviews, because there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to make things happen. There's folks that are advocating. There's the community involved. What is the Climate Equity Hub? Can you expand on that? I've heard that before. Explain that. What is that?
So the Climate Equity Hub, it was a community-led initiative that the Environment Department partnered on, where the community said, if we're going to transition away from natural gas, right? Majority of our buildings here are older buildings. Everyone has natural gas plumbing going into their buildings. We know that's not what we want to do long-term. Long-term, we want to electrify everything. We want to make sure that there's no pollution, no dangers from natural gas going into your homes anymore. But to do that is going to be a transition. right? We
Yeah.
have the existing infrastructure there. And how do we do that transition in a way that is equitable, that doesn't leave people behind? Because if you look at history, even just United States like history, or even just the city's history, we tend to sometimes think about policy, that policy will make sure everything is great for everyone, right? By setting the policy and the standard, everyone will get the trickle-down effects of the benefit. So we set these electrification standards, then everyone gets to have cleaner, healthier air.
Yeah.
The problem is the transition is not felt equally. If someone has the means to electrify and they can buy a heat pump water heater, install solar panels, you can go and do that. That's not an issue. But if you're someone who's struggling day to day, has challenges, other issues that are confronting them, you're putting this on the backs of them to say, well, we need to electrify because of like it's a larger city policy, but you just need to do it. And somehow you're going to have to make do when you're just making like ends meet as it is. And so the Climate Equity Hub was born out of the community idea that we should ensure that the transition is just, that the communities,
that's the big thing.
The communities don't get left behind, that people don't get left behind, that we're also creating jobs and careers and pathways for people to do the work. So we're training the workforce. And so it's this beautiful consortium of nonprofits, workforce development, we have unions, we have our city department and the environment department all working together to create this, what we call a Climate Equity Hub. And so we're going out there and proving the concept that we can have this group outside of the city help to do these installations out in the neighborhood. So you have the trusted nonprofit partner that can go and reach out to the homeowner and say, hey, we'd like to talk to you about energy efficiency and heat pump water heaters. We're going to do these retrofits. You have the workforce training folks that are there that are training up the contractors, because we need a workforce to do all of this work, training up minority contractors to get them ready and give them the skills to do these sorts of heat pump water heater installations. And then we as the city come in with the technical expertise, some of the incentives to help make it all work so it doesn't become a cost for those homes.
I see.
And then you have this beautiful kind of symphony, if you will, of now we've done about one installation each week over the last roughly 55 weeks as a proof of concept. And it's been this amazing success story where every single homeowner is so appreciative of just this kind of like coordinated work, right? Because usually you'd put this on the back of the homeowner to say, go figure out all the incentives. You go figure out who you need a contractor. And like here, we have everything all knit together.
Which is good. I mean, for some, thanks for sharing that. What's a day in the life of being a department head for the environment? I mean, it's quite a big task. How big is your team? And what does that, that job entail a day to day? So for those that may not know.
So we have about 100 people working at the environment department. They're spread across a lot of various disciplines that follow our focus areas. So we have planners and data analysts that are measuring what our emissions look like for the city. How are we developing our long-term kind of climate action plan, which we're updating this year, which I'll talk about later. We have a team that's focused on energy. How are we making sure that small businesses get energy efficiency projects and that sort of work done? We have a building electrification team that's working on things like the Climate Equity Hub, and how do we work on policies to ensure that we're electrifying everything long term? We have an EV team that's focused on getting all of our charging up in the city. And we have
specific EV team. Wow, there's so many different.
And we have an ecosystem team that's focused on biodiversity and reconnecting people back to nature and coordinating our city work. We have a toxics team that has been working on reducing the amount of toxics. So PFAS, we've been leaders on PFAS and styrofoam bans and things in the city that we know are polluting the environment. And then finally, I have a zero waste team that is focused on the recycling and composting, figuring out what does the long-term future look like for waste. And each one of these are just, I mean, I have the most amazing folks that are just knowledgeable, passionate about the work. That
very
are
specialized too. I mean, gosh, very specialized. I mean,
and our role is, we sit in this intersection of like I like to say, the environment department sits at this intersection of coordination, accountability, and equity. So we're coordinating, like was envisioned back in 1995, all of the efforts around the city to make sure they're aligned with our North Star. And so our North Star is, let's make sure the city is net zero emissions by 2040. So that's our North Star.
That's the goal. We have 2040.
And then we work across all the departments because we're not the implementing department. We have an amazing Public Utilities Commission. We have an amazing Municipal Transportation Agency. These are the folks running public transit and like actually doing the work on the infrastructure side. So we work with them to figure out like what are the steps we need to take and what are the steps you're taking aligned with this goal so that we're moving in this direction together.
Right.
And we take this across every single one of those disciplines I mentioned to just coordinate that. And then we create metrics and performance benchmarks to make sure we're being accountable, right? So we're seeing how many of these actions are moving forward, how many of the actions are delayed, how much are stalled, what impact are they having on emissions so that we're actually seeing the results and also pivoting when we don't see things are working. Because, as you're moving forward in uncharted territory, new things happen all the time.
All the time, right?
And we wouldn't have imagined, 7 years ago, how many autonomous vehicles you have on the road right now. We wouldn't have known in 2020 we had a pandemic, and how did that change office and work environments? What does that do to commute patterns? And so
a lot of factors could change a lot of things, right?
And so we have to kind of like stitch that all together to figure out, okay, what do we need to adjust in this plan, but still keep that North Star and work with all of these amazing people we have across the city in actualizing those goals.
So how big is your department then? You mentioned all those different roles and teams. How many total?
So it's about 100 people.
100 people. And then you have to work with a lot of the other department heads from other parts of the city to make sure that they're implementing some of the things that you have come up with or researched and this and that, right?
Right.
And it's a lot of
it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. Exactly.
And this is where this works, this model works, because in any organization, to achieve optimum efficiency and accountability, you want coordination, right? That's the very concept of having an organized company or group. And we serve in that role specifically on climate and environment. And I think without this kind of like focus and drive, climate and environment sometimes gets pushed off to the side because
often does.
The issues we're thinking about are long-term issues. And what captures all of us is sometimes what's in front of us right now, the harsh realities of what we're seeing in daily life. And sometimes it can feel disconnected from, well, where are we trying to go in 10 years?
Yeah, you're trying to predict the future. How's it going to be? But you don't see the instant results maybe right now.
And our job is to connect that like story of if you don't have a reliable, robust transportation system like we were just talking about, what does that do for the pollution in our city? What does that do for congestion in our city? And how does this fit into our larger vision? And so it really is that partnership with each one of these departments to make sure that we're elevating their work and their story and that it's aligned. And I think in principle, everyone in the city will say, yes, I want to be an environmental leader. I want to be a sustainability leader, a climate leader. But to prioritize amongst all the millions of pressures that every single department head faces and all the challenges they face, you can somehow say, this just doesn't rise to the top. There was a recent poll done by the World Economic Forum for their last conference in Davos. And they asked all the major CEOs and political leaders, look over the next 5 years, what do you see as the major risks? They mentioned affordability, geopolitical risks, social media. And that was like the top of mind for 5 years, war, all these things. And then when you ask the question, they ask the same question, what do you see in 10 or 15? Oh, well, climate change, extreme weather events, like all those other issues that we're trying to work on are the 5 or 10 years. But if you only focus on the first 5 years, you will never get to the next 10, and you're going to always be behind the 8 ball. And you'll never be able to like push forward on the things you can do now to prepare for those 10 years, which actually sets you up for success. So you're not just reacting to the dangers, you're anticipating them, and then you're building the systems here that allow you to the greatest margin of success.
No, I completely agree. I mean, anticipating what's going to happen is I used to work for the American Red Cross and I was an account manager for blood drives, right? Getting the blood. It's not that the blood that you need like the blood takes time to process to be ready in the hospital. So you got to prepare for the disaster that happens later down the road. So we need to do what we can now, collect all the blood so that we can make sure that there's enough blood supply for those who may get injured or this and that down the road. So it's you got to forecast, you got to it's all that.
Right? You got to think about the infrastructure. Like you might not have enough blood still, but what type of infrastructure do you need in order to do the blood drives that during the emergency to get the blood? Because you're going to have like casualties that will need that blood.
Need it, right?
And so all of those things are that's the exact parallel of what we do in the sustainability.
But in your sustainable environment, let's talk about like what is the most favorite thing you love about your job? Like, that that gets you here every day, basically what's the, I guess, that excitement that says, I can do this, especially with me being here as a leader. What excites you most about your job?
I mean, first, I get to work with the most amazing, most talented people in the world, I feel, in our department. We should be fortunate as a city to recognize just how much work goes on behind the scenes to make us this climate leader. I think what gets me up is this excitement that we can be better. Like I am 100% all in on this city. I've been born and raised here. And my contribution to this kind of future outlook of the city to make this city a better place for everyone that lives here and make it the model for other cities to be able to replicate is what drives me, right? Like every time we can do something really amazing and positive for our city that directly positively impacts everyone, that ripples, like I said, outside of our city, affects state policy and national and international kind of work.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me, because that's the scaling effect that we ultimately want, right? We want to bring everyone up together, and we're not going to accomplish all of our climate goals if it's just San Francisco on an island doing all the right things. It's San Francisco together in a network with other cities, other nations.
Other cities as well,
and doing that. And we've seen what's happening on a federal level, obviously, with the current administration rolling back environmental protections. They just most recently rolled back the endangerment findings from the EPA. And that was what said, hey, greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide emission, that's a harm, that is a pollutant. Okay. And so where that connects to everything else is this connects to what we're seeing in terms of global issues, right? When we talk about extreme heat, weather patterns, flooding, wildfires, it's all connected to this overall warming and changing weather pattern of the planet. And by not recognizing the core issue, which is the emissions and pollutions that we're putting out, you're turning a blind eye to everything that's actually making it worse. And you're doing the thing that I just said. You're looking in this short 1 to 5 year increment or time frame, and you're not looking out 10 years of like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to just like deal with everything in 10 years. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And this is almost the role that San Francisco has always played and can play in showing local government can lead. We can show the world what's possible when we reimagine the future the way that we want it, and we put in the policies, the programs, and everything in place to make sure that we achieve these outcomes. Then we become the template and the blueprint for everyone else.
And I think we are leaders, and it's amazing thanks to your leadership as well, what you've continued to do, your staff and team and everybody. I'm proud to say that as a San Franciscan. They say, oh, you're from San Francisco. You guys are the ones that do all the, yeah, we are. We are. I have friends from all over the world and country. They said, wow, you guys are pretty particular and pretty, adamant about putting glass and recycling and where it needs to be. Oh, yeah. We're very serious about it. California, San Francisco in particular, and I'm proud of it.
And it's not just policy, right? It's the actions that people are taking, right? Like your pride and like, oh, I get to put things in the right place. That's exactly the pride we should all have.
We should have, absolutely.
Taking individual action. And I didn't even mention, like, we have an amazing kind of outreach program too. So when we were even just implementing the 3-bin system, it's not enough just to have the policy everyone has in 3 bins. Everyone has to know what to do with those 3 bins
as well. You got to educate the people about it.
And so we're educating people, but we're also working in the schools. We have a team that goes into the schools, works with elementary, middle school, high school kids to teach them about composting, recycling, the connection of energy and the environment. So like they're embedding this kind of knowledge so that those youth can then, hopefully nag their parents and do the right thing. But also just like they will then be future leaders that will understand their role in the decisions that they make
continued on.
and continue it
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
last year alone, we reached close to 20,000 youth within the city through our environmental education programs.
That's amazing.
We have an annual event now where we're doing our third annual Climate Action Youth Summit. Started off with 1,000 kids over at Yerba Buena down in downtown, and we gathered them all together. Kids were just sharing their climate sustainability projects with one another. And last year we had 3,000. It scaled
Wow.
to 3,000, and this year we're expecting 5,000.
But look at that. That's amazing how
This is the movement.
and
right?
it's the youth too.
It's the youth.
And they're all into it. So
Yeah.
talk about that. When is that? Is that in April? Usually April is Earth Month, right? So this Climate Action Youth Summit, Yerba Buena, it's an outdoor event.
Yeah.
Now at 3,000, maybe 4,000 or 5,000. When is it every year?
So that's on April 24th over at the Yerba Buena Gardens out in downtown. That's one event. We have.
What else do you have? Yeah.
So we have a Green Business Expo. We work with a lot of businesses to get them to be certified to be green, helping them to reduce waste, reduce their energy use, reduce toxics in their workplace to help bring down their bills. And we're celebrating them on an event at the 18th, also at Yerba Buena.
Okay.
Also, it's a fun-filled, event-filled event over there that we encourage everyone to come out to. And all of this is happening within the auspices of SF Climate Week.
So it's a Climate Week, which is in April as well.
Which is in April.
Why is April? I'm just curious. Why is April Earth Month and all that? It's just always been. I've done millions of events, volunteering, this and that. April's just Earth Month, right?
It's because we have Earth Day in April.
Day.
And
so it just kind of revolves around
revolves around that, right? And there are so many things happening, just like we we're talking about, that everyone realizes, one day is not enough to just like highlight everything.
You got to do the whole month.
You got to do
Which
the
is
whole
cool.
month.
It dedicates the whole month to doing that, but we need to do it every day, every year. And that's the hardest part, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
It's great to celebrate every April, like when we celebrate AAPI month in May, we should be doing this all year long.
Yeah. Black History Month should be every month.
It is a reminder
Yeah.
that we have to do it because things go fast. You have so much things going on, but it sounds like there's a lot going on. And we'll get to like where everyone can find all this information. But I want to talk about businesses again, like the small business. We're talking about this food and everything. I'm making me hungry, by the way, talking about all this great food. After this, we're gone. I think I'm going to head out and grab some dim sum or go somewhere in Chinatown and whatnot. But how are some of the programs that you've kind of implemented here? Like, how are businesses, small businesses, like I can imagine like these restaurants, how are these restaurants adapting to this kind of new way of like ordering supplies and doing things and making sure that it's helping our environment? What are some examples you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we have a great reusables program that we work with small businesses throughout the city to get them signed up for. And so we'll help for indoor dining. There's no reason you should be using single-use plastic items. And you can replace those with dishes and just like have that inventory on hand to avoid all of the waste. And in our research and our pilot program, we uncovered, because we wanted to make sure that we're not just putting policies on folks and making it more difficult to do business. We wanted to show, hey, can we get some cost savings and some relief for these small businesses that are struggling? And in our analysis, we saw that because you don't have to purchase the single-use disposable items, right? Those plastic trays and forks and whatnot, you also reduce the amount of waste that you throw away. So you can actually cut down on your recology service. And by cutting down on the purchases of it and on having to like dispose of it, you get savings for your business if you switch over to reusables. And obviously there's different situations for every single business, but by and large, this pattern holds true. And so we've been out there pounding the pavement with our team, visiting business by business to say like, hey, let us help you save money. And we'll go in there, we'll help them get the inventory for their dishes and work with them and get them switched out. And it's been a great model of success. And it's also a direction we have to head, because it's a behavior change, right? Like you may have started your business and this is just how you've always operated your business because you've never had to think of anything else. You got your supplier that comes in every month, gives you, your large stack of trays. You got your supplier that comes in, does all these things. You paying your monthly recology bill, and you truly just don't give it a second thought. And then we come in and we say, hey, there's a different way to do this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take a little bit of coaxing, but I think by having these examples of other businesses that have benefited from it, like one business saves $20,000 a year just by not using, talking about dim sum, it's actually one of the dim sum places in Chinatown. They save $20,000 a year by switching over from single-use
Actually
disposable
save
items.
money. 'Cause
Saves
sometimes you got to
money.
frame it in a way like, am I spending more money? Because a lot of these things are more expensive to get this than that, to be good for the environment, this and that, but you could actually prove that it's saving the money.
Yep. And we had the data to work with them on doing that. And again, it's just a change in mindset.
It's your mindset. It's the shift you have to
That's all
think
it
about.
is.
Yeah.
And we don't need them to also think like how I'm thinking also. Yes, we're saving you money, but I'm also considering it was petroleum that was used to create that plastic tray that you're using to serve your meal in. Those microplastics that are coming from that tray that are polluting the environment and polluting the people that are ingesting the food there, that's also part of it. Those are externalized costs we don't tend to think about.
Right.
And so when you're the supplier, you're paying 15 or 20 cents for this tray, you're like, oh, this is cheap. If you really externalize the costs and calculated out the cost, it would be dramatically higher, right? Because you would then think about what did it take to produce that item? How did that item get transported over to you to then purchase?
Yeah.
Like you think about all the logistics.
All the things, those add up, and you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, maybe it's not as cheap as you think.
Yep. And then you take in, where does that go afterwards, right? Not all of it is able to be recycled. A lot of it ends up on our street as like trash. We see them all over the street.
Yeah.
So there's a street cleanliness aspect. And then you get a landfill aspect. Like we're just piling up our landfills with this waste. And that's also something that excites me of how do we change the mindset from what we call a linear extractive model. The model should not be, it is cheaper for me to get lumber from a virgin tree than it is to get recycled lumber from a deconstructed project that is being demoed and we're pulling that lumber out. And right now, the way that our system is set up, it is cheaper to buy new than it is to reuse something that's just as good. And that is where the model is broken. And that's the model that has to change, right? Because the finite resources we have on our planet dictate we have to change that, because eventually you reach a point where you don't have the resources to pull anymore. And then you're left with that same quandary of timeframes. 10, 20 years out,
right?
Oh, shoot, I don't have enough lumber to build this housing I need to build. What am I going to do during that time? Or another president has enacted tariffs on a neighboring country, which is driving up the cost of building materials. What am I going to do? And our team is focused on, okay, well, then how do we change that system to create this market now that doesn't exist to change the game? Because the game is rigged right now to favor that. And we need to change the game to favor how we can reuse things and keep things in circulation as long as possible, because we all get it on a fundamental level. It should be better just like reuse things in perpetuity than to constantly have to buy something new, which is the expense.
Which is add up,
And we're not there yet in the way that our kind of system is rigged right now.
It takes a lot of education, like pumping that. Even to this day, like I still have to learn new things, like, oh, that's right. I have to be reminded constantly, like looking at the big picture, this and that. Any other programs that you can talk about that you'd like to mention that you've worked on or implemented? Fix-it clinics, old batteries. What do we do with those? Like batteries, I have so many of those. I'm always feeling guilty to put them in the trash.
Oh no! Don't dump them in the trash.
That, right? Like what do we do then? I always feel guilty. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it.
So we have a bunch.
I save it up. Right?
Bunch of options for you. Okay, so you live in a large multifamily complex. You can call and request an orange battery bucket. And you can just like dump your kind of alkaline batteries. So you're kind of like your low power batteries. You can just dump those in there and then call the number, and it'll be picked up by Recology whenever those fill up. So that's one option. If you're in a single family home, you bring out your bins every week for a Recology pickup. If you just put your batteries into a nice little baggie, a Ziploc bag or whatever, just place that on top of your black bin. The Recology service person will actually take that baggie and then put it into a separate container for proper disposal. And so that's what you can do if you're a single family homeowner. And then we have this problem of this proliferation of embedded high-powered devices, right? Your battery banks, your phones, your laptops, these are like lithium-ion batteries that hold a lot of charge. And there hasn't been a place to safely dispose of these. And so a lot of these go into the trash and end up causing fires. And they've been causing fires actually all over the nation and world.
Wow.
Because as these get dumped in the trash, imagine what happens when the compactors start compacting those batteries. They start fires in the recology facilities, on the trucks. We've had a couple fires here in San Francisco.
Because of that.
And then you think about the externalized cost that I was just talking about. Those are costs then that have to get paid back somehow.
It's a bigger thing.
It's a bigger thing.
It snowballs into something like that, costs more money, this and that.
And
right.
And so we partnered with a local climate technology company, Redwood Materials. And so this is a great example of kind of like changing the system. So brand new system Redwood Materials had developed to take these embedded device batteries, take the minerals and components out from those batteries, and then recycle those to make new batteries. So that's their business model. Wow. And they had developed this kiosk to accept these batteries from just the public. And they reached out and said, hey, we want to have San Francisco be the first place we install these. Can you help us?
Yes.
And so my team on the toxics team worked with them because we're the kind of the regulator and we have the expertise there to like get through all of the issues. We brought in the fire department to make sure the fire safety issues were resolved. We brought in like small business partners, like our Cole Hardware that we work with already, to say like, would you be interested in like hosting these at your locations? And so we pulled together kind of the system, and now there's 8 locations that have these very specialized bins from Redwood Materials that people can now drop off their electric toothbrushes, their batteries from their laptops, their phones, and all of it will get broken down, and then that'll get recirculated back for new batteries. First in the nation, never been done before.
That's amazing.
And that also speaks to what excites me about the future. There's so much opportunity for innovation to solve these challenges. San Francisco has always been a place where this innovation happens.
Wow.
And the team that we have in the environment department is actually responsible for like, how do you create these deployment pathways for something that has never been created before?
Yeah.
Right? Like this bin never existed less than a year ago.
Right. Now
and here we have 8 of them all throughout the city for the public to be able to benefit from. And that takes people with the right knowledge, the smarts, the regulatory knowledge. And it's beautiful because that's what we do in San Francisco. We want to be the test place to innovate what happens.
Innovate. We're in the forefront of that.
And now these cities all around the nation are calling it Redwood Materials like, can we get these over in our cities? Which is great because it's not just a San Francisco problem. Everyone's facing this problem. The one anecdote I will give you, Redwood Materials, the folks over there did say, yeah, we're having trouble getting some of these bins up in other cities because they don't have an environment department there to be able to work, because they have their own regulatory issues and jurisdictional issues in each one of these cities.
So they don't have
a coordinating expertise in one location like we do in San Francisco to benefit from, to pave way. So even though we created a template and a playbook for how cities can do it, they still have to go through the steps they need to go through with their local fire departments, with their health departments to make sure those boxes are checked. And it's not easy when you don't have a coordinated entity like the environment department.
Well, I'd say all my electronic stuff, I mean, I a long time ago, I mean, when I was a kid, I would just throw those things in the garbage, whatever. But now I just gather, I just go to my Best Buy and I go it there. I just know because I buy a lot of stuff over there, and I'm just like, you know what? Here's my batteries. Here's my old stuff. Oh yeah, we'll take it from you. Sometimes, not all the time. You know,
and there's a lot of surprising things that can get taken away. Also, like mattresses. You have your bulky item pickups from Recology that folks don't know about. We always refer people to our website, sfrecycles.org.
Yeah.
And you can go there and just type in the item that you're like, where does this go? Where does this milk carton go?
Yeah. So the website is that where? Okay. So that's let us know what's the main website to go to, and then obviously you can kind of go from there.
Okay.
What's the main website that people can go to learn more, what they can do, and this and that?
So for all the work that we're doing around climate action, all of our programs go to sfenvironment.org. That's our main landing page.
sfenvironment.org. Okay.
You can find out the events that are happening in April. You can find out all of our programs, our incentives. Best place to go. If you specifically have a question of like, where does this go? We have a specialized website called sfrecycles.org
Okay.
that you can go in there and, like I said, just type in the keyword that you have, and it'll direct you over to the right place to dispose of it and tell you how to dispose of it.
So there's always a place that you can find out. Don't be
There's always a
lazy,
place.
folks. Go in there, check it out, and you can find out where to dispose of anything and find out more information. Okay, what can someone do every day that you would like to, like little simple things that they could do to kind of help our environment and just help our climate, whatever it may be? Like what's one small little thing you can tell people?
Going back to the very beginning, take public transit.
Okay, public transit.
Take public transit.
You're right.
Ride a bike.
Yeah.
Take a low carbon form of transportation. That's an easy one for
Easy way. Okay.
You can turn off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth.
That I always do. I always
Right?
do that. I
Right?
hate wasting water, and I'm like, wait, turn it off.
You know why?
I'm a little too much now.
We've grown up in the droughts, right? We've gone
We
through
have
a
grown
number
up.
of droughts,
Like,
and
no,
you
no,
remember.
don't want that water.
What
Oh
was
my gosh.
What was it? If it's brown,
Brown,
flush it down.
flush it down.
If
Yes.
it's yellow, let it mellow, right? That was.
Oh, I remember that. So, and it's, you know what? It's draining in our heads,
It is.
but it's good practice.
good practice.
You know, and I hate it when people are just wasting.
Yeah.
Okay, those are little things.
Okay, those are little.
I love that.
I mean, the point is, everything can have a positive impact on the environment. Don't go out there and get things you don't need, like single-use disposable items. I bring my own reusable containers when I go out to eat now, and then I actually just like store it in my little glass Tupperware container, and then I can bring it back and I can wash it. And it's just like, you don't even think about it because you're like, oh, there's a takeout box that you get. And I'm like, well, you don't actually have to. You can actually, as you're bringing your reusable bag, just have those when you go to a restaurant, and then if you have some leftovers, bring it back home. And you know it's being stored in the way that you want to store it too, right? In a nice container. You can do things like that. You can compost. You can go and sign up for clean energy and sign up for 100% renewable electricity. And that's an option now you can sign up for. You can look at electrifying your building and reducing the pollution inside your home. So if you want to switch away from your natural gas water heater, there are better heat pump water heaters that are more resilient, that are going to be more reliable for you, that are going to help you cool down your home and also provide warmth and hot water.
Yes.
And so these units are getting better and better, and the costs are becoming lower and lower, especially with the incentives that are available, that there's just a lot of lack of information out there that people just don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And because of that, you fall back on what you've learned. And sometimes innovation is already kind of leapfrog and making things better for you. You just haven't realized how it can make it better for you.
Yeah, and you just got to do the little extra work,
Little
just
things.
finding out about it and just making that conscious effort. Make a conscious effort, you know.
And you can volunteer. We have a great volunteer program for doing climate action within your community. Picking up trash on the street, doing litter assessments, going out there and doing plantings or tree plantings. Arbor Day is coming up. Public Works is going to do a big Arbor Day event.
Yeah, it's huge.
Come out and connect with people, because if we've learned anything, that people are craving connection.
Oh, they are. Connection, community, especially we've been locked up for so long, I feel like, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
This is a great way.
People are turning out, right, for all the events that are happening and all the activations that are happening. There's activations that are happening in neighborhoods just to improve your neighborhood and meet your neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the most important things around climate action is I always say that until you're connected to one another within your community and your neighborhood, it's hard to be connected to the planet, which ultimately we should all try to be connected with, right? And so it starts with those like local roots and connections, and just like we're all in this together, right?
We're all in this together.
We care about our neighborhoods, we care about our city, and we care about our city, we care about our planet. And like those things all feed off of each other, and we got to promote more of that.
Absolutely. So so you already touched upon this, the climate action plan, like looking ahead, what other things can we look forward to as we, kind of come to a close here? Anything else that you'd like to close with in terms of what can we look ahead in terms of coming from your department? What can we look at the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years from now?
Well, in just a few months, we're going to be releasing, we're wrapping this up with the mayor, with his leadership, our updated climate action plan. And so we've been working on this for a little over a year to kind of update our metrics, update our actions. And so that's going to be released fairly soon. That's going to chart the course for the next 5 years of what we need to do in order to accomplish and meet our goals. And so we want to get to net zero by 2040. That's our longer term goal. By 2030, we want to get to a 61% reduction in emissions. And we're right now at about a 48% reduction of emissions compared to our 1990 level. So tremendous progress, even as our city population has grown and our GDP has grown, all of that, right? So showing you can be a climate leader and still be a prosperous city.
And that's a realistic goal, right, for our city?
Yeah, I think it's realistic. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, right? Because I like to say we've tackled a little bit of the low-hanging fruit in the city. The energy supply, making sure that that's clean and renewable and coming from like solar and wind. Like we've done that now. Now the more challenging part is how do we start to transition the infrastructure away from fossil fuels? So how do we get more electric vehicles on the road? How do we get people in public transit more? How do we get people more bike lanes up so people can bike safely and not worry about getting hit, or make pedestrian safety okay? Like all these are actually connected. How do we get the buildings electrified? So if you have a natural gas water heater, like how do we make it easy for you to be able to convert to an all electric version that's healthier for you? And those are challenges because it gets back to that behavior change of doing something different than maybe you're accustomed to. But if we all kind of embrace that, we can be part of this amazing change, and it actually really impacts you personally on a health level, impacts your family, impacts your community. Like there's no reason we can't accomplish the 61% by 2030 and our net zero target by 2040, but it'll take drive, it'll take ongoing coordination that we were talking about, and it'll take leadership from this city to make it happen.
Thank you for sharing that. And as we close, I want to kind of do this like love letter to San Francisco, right? Because you are from San Francisco. Thank you for sharing a wealth of knowledge first and foremost. But you're a San Francisco Chinatown, kid, if you will, that grew up here. And what do you miss most from Chinatown? And like, just what would you say? Like, God, that's not there anymore. Especially like it's lots of change since back in the day and to now. What do you miss most about it? Like any particular businesses, places that like, oh,
I mean, I'm actually in Chinatown pretty often for different meetings and events. So I'm very, very connected to the community even now. I think life just feels simpler when you're a kid because you don't think about all the other kind of challenges we get faced with. And I think we also, our minds are a little bit more open and definitely more malleable for thinking and imagining some different path or future, right? Because you're still trying to figure things out as a kid and you're just focused on like just having fun as a kid. And then as you get older, like I do find like we tend to start putting boxes around what's possible, what's not possible, like these mental constructs, if you will. And we limit our imagination and our thinking that things can be different and better. And that's honestly what I always try to go back to, that I do miss, that things were just always simpler. Like it'd just be going, like I said, going to the after school program and maybe playing ping pong or basketball over
just the simple things before.
The simple things, connecting with friends and like, but those things still matter, right? And I think all of those things are things that we should invest in. Those are things that we should care about. Those are things that we should pride ourselves on. And I think these like boxes of like, oh, no, I have to focus on these issues. And also that's exacerbated simply by just the way information flows right now through digital media and kind of the siloing. That's a whole other conversation.
It's a whole other,
But the siloization of kind of like all of the information bubbles that we have that create these camps has been so hard in limiting our ability to see people and on other sides of issues and to have anything that forms some sort of cognitive dissonance with your belief, because you're automatically trained to go to wherever your belief is. I'm sure the algorithms have figured me out. They're like, give this guy all the climate stuff. He loves this climate, right? And that's my bubble. And I admit that that's the bubble they've constructed for me. And the algorithm for someone else is, I don't care about climate. I'm only going to be over here. And these two sides don't talk to each other. And it's like this. It's almost this incentivized system to create these camps, because the goal for each one of the, now I'm really going off track, but the goal of these algorithms, right, is to keep you on these apps as long as possible. What keeps you on is controversy, that stuff, and like seeing your own people and your tribe. And that tribalism reflects back to climate work, because ultimately we need everyone working together to be cooperating together, for everyone to see themselves as part of a larger system. And until you're able to kind of break out from these kind of isolation chambers that we've been put into, you can't see yourself identifying with someone across the street, and you're let alone not going to be able to see yourself connecting to nature and to the planet and wanting to like create this better future for everyone, not just myself, but for everyone, not just those in my tribe.
Okay. Well, what would you have a headline of San Francisco be in 5 years? What would you like to see it? We'll kind of close with that, and then let's just take your take on it. What would that headline look like? What would you want it to say 5 years from now when people look at San Francisco, or it could be in Chinatown, or anywhere that is close to home, which obviously is a city here? What would you want that headline to read?
San Francisco, where the future was imagined first.
I like that.
And I think if we can maintain that imagination and that belief that we can lead on so many different issues,
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I'm so proud to be a San Franciscan along with you and doing the work. Thank you so much for all that you do to help make our place a better place, and an innovative place too, and a conscious place for people to enjoy and thrive in. We'll close with this. I left my podcast in San Francisco, so we're going to leave a little something for our studios. And we ask our guests, do you have anything that you would like to leave behind to put on our shelf here, our
I do.
wall of fame? What do we have?
Talking about reusables.
All right.
I have a reusable mug here.
I like it.
That I'm going to leave on here. And shameless plug, there's about 60 cafes around the city that are participating in our Bring Your Own Cup campaign. So if you go to
Bring
these
your own
cafes,
cup. All right.
you can get a discount on your coffee. Again,
Discounts?
bring your own
I'm
cup.
in it. Let's
you're
do
in,
it.
right? Discounts.
I like the
saving
colors
money.
too. Let me see that. That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, look, this is nice. With the brown bottom like this, it looks it's like a tree. It's giving back like a tree.
I think that was
You know?
that was part of the design.
I think that's the design here. So, okay, Tyrone, this is amazing. I'm going to put this right here. A nice little gift. Thank you so much for joining us on I Left My Podcast in San Francisco. Very, very educational too. And it makes me want to do better. And, as a San Franciscan, as a citizen, to help our environment in every single way. So thank you so much for inspiring me and all of us.
Yeah. Thank you for
All right.
having this and for being able to just tell so many different stories in this amazing platform.
Well, I'm ready to roll my sleeves on Earth Month, and I'm going to get my fingernails dirty, and I'm going to help plant some trees. I'm inspired.
Wait, I thought we were
Let's
going to get something to eat after this.
Well, first we'll go eat first.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll
I got
save
some
the
questions, some good spots. Okay, let's go eat, and then we'll volunteer.
Sounds good.
How you go? I like that. Tyrone, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a lot.